So last night was so much fun, and I'm really glad that I ended up going out for a drive. It's honestly been a while since I just drove to drive and not actually had to go somewhere. So that felt really good. It's almost like a little therapy session, so to speak. As you can see by all of the chunks of ice that I had already scraped off the car, we got quite a bit of freezing rain and sleet and snow after I had gotten home. Definitely was not fun to scrape off the convertible. I was very concerned that I was going to damage the new plastic window. But I was gentle and everything was alright. Obviously, it's not clear, but it's good enough. Especially considering the fact that my driveway is an ice skating rink right now and I cannot even get out of it. Gotta love landlords who don't salt or sand the driveway. I mean, look at it. It's legitimately an ice skating rink. Well, let's see how last night went. Say we probably got about 3 inches so far. Well, I wanted to take the car out to enjoy the snow, but as you can see with the ice on the windshield, I ran out of washer fluid, so that's already not great. And also my gas light is already on. So first stop is a gas station, but I already don't have a great feeling. It's still fun to drive, but it's no turbo car. So I wouldn't say it's less fun to drive. I would just say it's different. Not really different in a bad way, just different than what I'm used to. So I turn 32 this coming week, and besides for borrowing cars from like family members and friends, almost every vehicle that I've owned, that I've had on the road, has had some sort of modifications. So obviously with the turbo car, I've taken it really far, and it's essentially a race car. And my Subarus before that, I kind of did similar, but not as race car, because I never really took those cars to the track. But this one is basically stock as can be. It has stock suspension, it has stock BMW wheels, it's got stock exhaust, it's got, granted, it was a factory automatic car and I did a manual swap, but there's not really much that's aftermarket about it or custom. It does have a chassis mount shifter, which I have a chassis mount in my turbo car and I don't mind it, but with everything in this car being factory, the chassis mount kind of feels, not kinda, it really feels out of place.
because essentially the motor, the transmission, the whole drivetrain is on rubber bushings, so it can move around a little bit, but the shifter is mounted directly to the chassis with no bushing, so you can feel when I accelerate and brake, you can feel the movement in the shifter. Now, some people have run into problems where if you have bad bushings or other stuff like that, or there's too much movement in the drivetrain, where if you have a chassis mount shifter, it can actually pop it out of gear while either braking or accelerating or whatever you're doing. I haven't had that issue yet, but all of my bushings are brand new, so I kind of figured that I wouldn't have that problem. The only other modification that I've done with the car is I took the open diff out of it and I replaced the open diff with a limited slip differential. Now, I thought I was replacing it with, so the open diff was a 391, and I thought I was replacing it with a 391 LSD, which, when swapping to the manual, would have made my gear ratios extremely short. It's the diff that most people use for their drift cars. So I didn't really want that for a daily driver. And it turns out that the diff that I put in the car is actually from a 92 e36 automatic, and I found out recently that they aren't 391s in the OBD1 e36 automatics, they are 315s. So this whole time I've been wondering why my car was so slow as an automatic and it should have been a little bit faster. Well, that was because I had a 315 rear diff in it instead of the 391. So I was losing a lot of acceleration and gaining a lot of top end speed. But now with the manual and the 315 limited slip, it's kind of a perfect daily driver. The RPMs aren't too high on the highway, but I still have plenty of power throughout the rest of the gears to help me accelerate when I need to. I do have front lowering springs for the car. I just haven't gotten around to installing them yet. I've been kind of concerned that if I put the lowering springs on the struts that I have on the car now, that I might just blow the struts out. So I've just been keeping the stock springs until I can afford to buy new struts to pair with the lowering springs. But I mean, it rides nice. I hit bumps in this car and I don't bend wheels versus hitting bumps in the turbo car with the coilovers, and I do bend wheels. So it's kind of nice having the stock suspension and not having to worry about that extra stress on wheels and other suspension components, especially in a car that I drive every day. I wish I had more gas so I didn't have to drive on the main roads directly to the gas station. I really hate the treatment of the roads. Like, I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to give you grip. They're trying to get rid of the ice. They're trying to make it as safe as possible. But it's much safer if it's predictable. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's patch, 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 and then in between all of these patches is snow and ice. So there's patches of slippery and then patches of grip, and patches of slippery and patches of grip, and it's much safer if it's just consistently slippery or consistently grip. This whole patchy is just it's just dangerous, because it gives people this false sense of security that they have traction, when the reality is half a second after they go over that spot with traction, guess what? They got nothing. Be smart, Zach. Alright, that's better. I still don't have washer fluid, but there's no ice on my windshield, and I have gas.
So I put my camera down.
So that's cool. And I did not get pulled over. And I'm gonna continue to try to not get pulled over.
You can see him sitting right over here on the right-hand side.
It's a good thing they're great at plowing the roads.
Right there. There he is, just sitting in the car wash parking lot.
The LSD isn't as predictable as the welded diff, obviously. It's old. It needs to be rebuilt. It could probably use new clutches at this point. But it definitely works in the rain and in the snow. I would not be able to drive this car if it was still on the open diff. 2 minutes after I said that and clipped that last section, a freaking deer, big buck, runs out in front of me. Luckily, I wasn't going too fast and was able to not hit him, but my goodness. Really makes me wish I would have just, you know, recorded the whole trip, but you don't want to see all that.
Nor do I want to have to edit all of that.
Just doesn't make as cool noises, that's all. It's still fun to drive, it just doesn't make cool noises. Although not making cool noises is kind of one of this car's benefits. I can drive it and do things and not necessarily worry about people hearing me, you know? I can blend in with plain traffic, so to speak. Which is always a benefit. Nobody wants to stand out when you're doing things that could potentially get you in trouble, right? Love this single path on the road. Gotta be careful though, because I'm getting to that point in the night where there's gonna be plow trucks on the roads. As you can see, somebody already made one path down here, directly down the middle. So, only a matter of time before I either come up from behind or he's going to be doing the far side of the road coming towards me. So always got to be prepared. Because you do not want to get hit by a plow. That was just a light from that guy's house, but that scared me. Would you look at that? But he's gonna make me stop and get stuck on this hill, I bet. So the goal is to say main roads, and we're only gonna take back roads. And it looks like if I can find some that aren't plowed, it looks like I got a few inches, which is pretty sweet. It's cool because this car has more ground clearance than the turbo cars. Wow, there's actually a decent amount of snow over here. So I have to worry less about this car getting beached. It is grippy though. That or this thing just makes no power. Probably a little bit of both. Kind of want to make me modify this car and give it a little bit more power, because it is an enjoyable car to drive. It's just slow as balls. This is pretty sweet.
I'm talking about the snow on the road here. I haven't really gotten a chance to actually drive in any sort of deep snow. Not that this is really deep, but I'm driving through probably 3 to 4 inches here, and it just feels way cooler than anything else that I've done this season so far, because every time I've been out in my cars, there's always just been a dusting on the road or, you know, slippery roads. It's never really been any sort of accumulation of snow where there's like snowbanks and stuff.
No way. The e-brake worked. That's amazing. I didn't think I was gonna get that. That was pretty cool. This road's been plowed though, so less fun. Only halfway so far up to here. If I'm being 100% honest, this car grips better than the turbo car. The turbo car, I have so much grip in the rear end compared to the front end that it wants to push a lot. Whereas this one, it really just goes where the wheel is turned all the time. Whereas with the turbo car, I kind of have to rotate the rear around to get the front to go where it needs to go. It's not wrong, it's just that's how the car was put together. And then the other thing is with this car, it has to be really slippery to just lose traction by flooring it. A lot of times I need to kick the clutch a little bit for it to get the wheels to spin, whereas the turbo car, boost comes on, wheel spin, especially in the rain and the snow. But this car will struggle to spin tires in the rain. But in the snow, it'll do it. It's definitely a good car. Yeah, I would have been screwed without an LSD. Rotate. I love this car.
Well, she made it home. No issues. This was the first real test in the snow that I've done with this car, and it performed great. I kind of figured it would, seeing as I already tested the tires that it's on the turbo car, and it has a grippier rear end than the turbo car, so I kind of knew what I was expecting. I just wasn't sure how it was going to be with having almost no power. Well, half the power that I'm used to. So it did good. I enjoyed it. Had lots of fun. More clutch kicks than I would have liked, but you know, that's the life you live when you have no power. Overall, it did good, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting the turbo car ready for the drift season, which is approaching very fast. But that's gonna do it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.